top team. And now I know. It's wonderful.
But a team needs to move forward, and Jaguar were resigned to conceding race wins to Mercedes like this one at Donington in order to concentrate their energies on development for the future. For a long time, the team had acknowledged that they needed to take the bold but essential step of changing from the production-based V12 engine to the twin-turbo V6. It was the only way Jaguar could continue to stay on terms, both in American IMSA racing and here in the increasingly competitive World Championship, where names like Porsche, Nissan, Toyota, Aston Martin and Mercedes were so strongly committed. Perhaps even Jaguar didn't realize how tough that change would be. On the race circuits and in the pit lane, you wouldn't have noticed any lack of determination or loss of morale. But while Mercedes were at their peak, Jaguar, like any team developing a new engine, were virtually having to start all over again.
With the new technology, we're on the learning curve, obviously, and with the new turbo engine, and obviously there's a lot to do and a lot of things to learn prior to being able to be as competitive as the others. Obviously, the Mercedes Sauber have been working on this for the past 3 years, and they have it right since about the middle of last year, and obviously this season they are in full swing. So it's only the third race, and we all have to be very patient.
So a development year and a development season really for the team. What kind of expectations then for 1990?
To be able to learn as much as possible in the shortest amount of time. Obviously the racing is the best grounds for development, because that's where you actually face the truth, and that's where you actually learn a lot. It's true for all the competitors, it's true for all the manufacturers, and a lot of work over the winter.
The racetrack is the sharp end. This is where the groundwork is done, the headquarters of Tom Walkinshaw Racing in Kidlington, England. Here, every avenue is explored, every opportunity for progress developed. Castrol closely involved in getting the team back on top after the disappointments of 1989.
We're currently working here in the off-season to obviously learn a great deal from our mistakes during 1989, because I don't think anybody enjoyed the season, particularly all of us back here at Kidlington. We have a very extensive R&D program going on in all departments currently, with a view towards trying to maximise our competitive situation for 1990. Really, it's a twofold program. Firstly, on the engine front, you can see behind us that already we're deeply involved in the 1990 program. The two engines behind us are being prepared ready for the Daytona 24 hours at the beginning of February. And as far as the main race team is concerned, we're undergoing a massive extension program of the main workshop. We've doubled it in size and perhaps added nearly 30 staff to our payroll in order to try and get the levels of staffing and expertise that we need to regain our competitive position.
The 1990 car being a follow-on from an existing car, the concept is largely decided, but of course with the capacity we have here for design, development, etc., then we must enhance the 1990 program. Areas of suspension, geometry, aerodynamics, etc., are all going to progress. What I hope will be a pace which will feel the benefit in the racing program.
There's two fundamental changes to the box, one of which we've made the internals physically bigger to cope with the horsepower and the fact that it's going to have to do 24 hours as well as just a 4-hour race.
The level of oil inside the gearbox generator is quite low as such, because most of it is being splashed around the sides, but of course the idea being that you don't want too much being splashed around because you generally get too much build up on the gears.
Right, and hence power loss. And
Right, exactly.
Because of the high lifts needed in our two-valve engine, one of the highest stressed areas is the valve train, and the oil allows us to use this type of camshaft in a long-distance event.
Castrol, not only a name on the side of the car, but part of the team, enabling the team to take major steps forward. Steel brakes to carbon fibre, for example, via Castrol Performance Brake Fluid. There's an air of confidence that in 1990, Jaguar will be providing the expected challenge for Mercedes and the ever-stronger Japanese teams. But the World Sports Car Championship is not the only challenge for Jaguar. The sport is equally competitive in North America. And there, the Castrol Jaguars made an immediate impact when they entered the IMSA Championship in 1988, taking victory first time out in the grueling Daytona 24 Hours. It was a remarkable debut, and one that showed the assembled might of Porsche, Nissan and Toyota, that they genuinely were a force to be reckoned with. And it was that all-important first 24-hour victory that proved so much about engineering excellence, reliability, organisation and self-confidence. The winning trio, Martin Brundle, John Nielsen and Raoul Boesel, and the Castrol-backed XJR9 really paved the way for the Le Mans success that came later that year. Jan Lammers was among the victorious drivers at Le Mans, and he strikes the contrast between racing in the World Championship and racing in North America.
Driving the IMSA car, the Castrol car in the States is a bit more fun because you can really give it all and you don't have to worry about the fuel, which makes the engine reliability all a bit nicer. So running in the States is definitely a bit nicer than here. Here it's more a technical challenge to sort of come up with little ideas and little driving techniques to make it more efficient. And as a team you really have to figure out everything to be efficient. In the IMSA racing, everybody just sets it up to maximum in terms of horsepower and output, and you don't really have to think about the fuel, and that just locks out a lot of other little details.
Castrol Jaguars finished the 1989 season on a very positive note, with victories at Tampa and Del Mar to add to the earlier success at Portland. And 1990 started in equally positive style. The field away at Daytona, where Castrol Jaguar set their own standard in endurance racing 2 years earlier. The Daytona 24 Hours, an event which TWR's North American operation approached with a kind of superb organisation that could only bring one result: victory. Car 60, a Jaguar XJR 12 for Price Cobb, John Nielsen and Martin Brundle. Car 61, a similar XJR 12 for the eventual race winners Davy Jones, Jan Lammers and Andy Wallace. And the Castrol Jaguars, setting a really uncompromising pace, were running 1 and 2 inside the first 3 hours, burning off the challenge of Porsche and Nissan. Superb work by the crew meant that Jaguar pit stops were consistently 20 seconds or more quicker than their rivals. The lead just grew and grew. Cobb, Nielsen and Brundle, second for Castrol Jaguar. And they were behind the victorious Davy Jones, Jan Lammers and Andy Wallace. Lammers and Wallace completing a Le Mans Daytona double. The closest Porsche, in third, was 8 laps behind. The fourth place car was astonishingly over 50 laps further back. A great victory and a very confident signal for the 1990 Jaguar season. Le Mans 1955, the ill-fated race that prompted the Mercedes withdrawal from international motorsport. Their return would not officially come until 1989. But the Silver Arrow Mercedes were as supreme in the 50s as they were dominant in the 30s. In both great eras, they were lubricated and supported by Castrol. A team that had built their reputation on impeccable organization and attention to detail returned to motorsport in works form after a break of 34 years. They'd been coaxed back by the efforts and results of Peter Sauber and Max Welty, who'd run the Sauber Mercedes team since 1986. They'd shown how Mercedes could challenge and beat the likes of Porsche and Jaguar. As a result, the highest level of Mercedes management decreed that for 1989, the Sauber Mercedes cars should be silver. The official factory colours, the Silver Arrows, had returned. That hadn't been the case the previous year. Sauber Mercedes recognized by their all-black livery and their ability to run with the best. 1988 may have been a development year, especially as concerned the progress and work on the Mercedes V8 engine. But Sauber Mercedes still claimed second in the drivers and second in the manufacturers' championships. And for 1988, the team had enjoyed greatly increased support from Mercedes. Official support that would give the team the stability and the money to press home its challenge. Behind the wheel, the likes of Jean-Louis Slesser, Jochen Mass and Mauro Baldi. Early victory at Jerez produced the momentum for the team. They set the pace here at Brands Hatch, and by the end of the season, the wins were coming thick and fast at Brno, Spa, Nürburgring and Sandown. Jean-Louis Slesser only just missed out on the driver's title. But 1989, the Sauber Mercedes challenge would be at its peak. 1989 would be the championship year. The drivers for 89, Irishman Kenny Atchison, recent seasons spent racing in Japan. For 89, he'd be providing the support for the Italian Mauro Baldi, ex-Formula One driver, now rated among the best in the World Sports Car Championship. From France, the very experienced, hard-charging ex-Jaguar man Jean-Louis Slesser. He'd be teamed with even greater experience in the shape of the German Jochen Mass, over 15 years of Grand Prix and sports car racing. And what a mighty season this quartet of drivers produced. As early as Donington Park in September, they'd be taking the Manufacturers' Championship after a run of 5 victories in 6 World Championship races. 3 of them had been 1-2 clean sweeps. Jean-Louis Slesser taking the checkered flag on 4 occasions. Mauro Baldi kept the pressure on Slesser for the driver's title with victory at Spa. But the Frenchman clinched the crown with last round success in Mexico. The manufacturer's title and the driver's title, 2 prime targets for the season achieved. The third, equally important and equally tough, Le Mans. A lot seemed stacked against Mercedes at Le Mans, the shadow of history, unnerving tyre problems that had forced their withdrawal a year earlier. And at least 3 drivers on the team had expressed their dislike of the event. Despite all that, the team had been motivated by the challenge. They qualified 2 cars on the front row and went to the head of the field right from the start. Slesser dropped back, but the Mercedes of Jochen Mass with Manuel Reuter and Stanley Dickens, Mercedes number 61, was unbeatable. Mauro Baldi and Kenny Atchison stuck close, but eventually dropped back with transmission problems. But for the first time since the 50s, it was Mercedes Day, Mercedes weekend at Le Mans. Mercedes first, second and fifth. A victory which just added to their aura of invincibility in the 1989 season. Victory for Sauber Mercedes. Manuel Reuter, Stanley Dickens, and a very popular German, Jochen Mass.
Winning Le Mans obviously is an achievement, at least in everybody else's eyes, you know, which is outstanding to me. I know what it takes to win it. It takes a certain amount of stamina naturally, but it takes a lot of luck, and it takes an extremely good car and a very well-prepared car. So it's not just a driver's success, it's obviously the whole team, which you have to take into account for that. But to me, it was something I hadn't necessarily dreamed of, because to me Le Mans was not my most favorite event, but nevertheless, it's one of the most outstanding events in the world in motor racing, so you can't bypass it and just ignore it flat.
Outstanding event for Kenny Atchison, possibly Suzuka, where he drove single-handed to second place, or here at Brands Hatch, where he returned to drive in front of a British crowd and tasted victory with Mauro Baldi.
It is extra special to drive a silver Mercedes. I guess in a lot of ways it's a little bit like driving a red Ferrari. From my point of view, I've never driven in a team that is more like a family than this. Really, everybody is very new in it. It's run by Peter Sauber's team in Switzerland. Most of the mechanics have only worked for Peter. So really it is very much a family, and the Mercedes technicians, it's easy to talk. We all have a drink together. It's not as regimented as you would expect from Mercedes, and for me, I've been treated very well and I enjoy it a lot, you know.
It's not too relaxed though, because the backup behind the team is at least as sophisticated as that in Formula One, with Castrol staff at every race, keeping a check on product performance. According to Mauro Baldi, it's not only behind the scenes that the championship compares with Formula One.
I think Group C is harder than Formula One from the driving point of view. Because first of all, there is no air inside the car, so we always try many things to bring air so we can breathe fresh